Hey y'all, I just finished watching Dune Prophecy and wanted to share my thoughts. So I basically want to talk first of all about the theme of the show, control versus surrender. Then I want to talk about the technology attitude that the Bene Gesserit adopt at the very beginning, inception of the sisterhood, and why I like their attitude about technology and why it makes me want to root for our hero Valia. And then thirdly, I want to talk about just my favorite scene from the show. So I'm going to give you some background here and get into some spoilers about the movie, the most recent movies with Timothée Chalamet. So if you haven't seen those and you haven't seen the show, go watch them and then come back and get my thoughts. But I was introduced to Dune back in 2023. My friend had it on his Plex, and I hadn't seen it at the time. I knew it was a big production, big cast movie, and from what I had heard, it had good reviews, so I thought I'd check it out. And I just loved it. I loved Paul Atreides. I'll spoil it here, but I just loved his ascension into becoming the Kwisatz Haderach and everything he goes through on Arrakis, fighting, and his Bene Gesserit skills, and, was very inspired to see the second one, and that didn't disappoint either. So when I heard there was a prequel, I knew I had to see it. To give some context here about the show, it's a prequel that happens 10,000 years before Paul. So it basically shows the beginning of the Bene Gesserit sisterhood. I'll start with the technology attitude that they have that I like, and why I like it. Basically, there's a war that happens between humans and thinking machines, where these big artificially intelligent war machines turn on the humans, and there's a big conflict. But the result of that is that thinking machine gets banned throughout the Imperium. You can't have any thinking machines. And the whole purpose of the Bene Gesserit is this thinking machine digital genetic database. So they're violating the ban. This is the foundational technology, the whole purpose that the founding the founding mother superior, Raquella, that's the whole purpose of her mission, is this thinking machine technology that is illegal. So what I like about our hero, Valia, is that she fights to keep this. She has this pro-technology viewpoint and stance, and fights for the saving this technology. So what happens is, as Raquella, the founding mother superior, is dying, and on her deathbed, she has her grandmother by her side, Theodota, who I think is a reverend mother at that point, or maybe just a sister. But she then, as in her dying request, calls for young Valia to join her, and basically delegates the entire sisterhood to Valia. And it's later revealed to her granddaughter, Theodota, that they're using thinking machines, and they intend to basically use it to exert control. And Theodota does not want to control. She wants more the truth-saying, more of a neutral kind of approach for the sisterhood, where they're going to the great houses and advising, using their truth-saying powers and advising from a neutral perspective. But Valia recognizes the potential and the long-term benefit of using this thinking machine technology, even though it's banned, for breeding a new leader who is going to be not corrupt. So basically, they've recognized in the Imperium, whoever's leading, they're corrupt. They're just power hungry, and they're going to use this technology to analyze all the genetics and everyone in the Imperium and matchmake to breed the Kwisatz Haderach, or at least better leaders who are going to be fair leaders that they can control. And Valia recognizes the value of this, and as Theodota goes to basically shut down Raquella's entire life work, Valia goes and kills her to defend the technology and to defend Raquella's great work. And this is the moment that shapes the entire Bene Gesserit the whole character of the sisterhood, which is they're controllers. They're going to influence. They're going to shape things. And it's this act of killing Theodota that from which we get the whole theme of the show, which I'll touch on next, which is kind of like control versus surrender. But why I like this Valia's approach and attitude about, and Raquella's attitude about technology, is because it's an optimistic view of technology. It's a techno-progressive view, and that they're yes, acknowledging that thinking machine technology can cause problems, but the way to work with technology is to find the best expression of the technology. And to do that, you can't just hide from it. When these technologies come into existence, they're sort of inevitable in that sense, and they maybe even start doing their own thing. So they're here, you have to acknowledge it, and the way to do it is to work with it. And so this is a way of using the technology, even though it's causing problems, to instead of saying less technology, say better technology, or a better expression of the technology, a better use for it. So instead of war machines that are going to maybe kill everyone, we can use thinking machines to breed better leaders. And having that long-term tolerant attitude about these technologies and working with them in a progressive way is something that I also share. And I think an example, first of all, you can't really ban technologies. They always, if they're here, they always find a way to gain adoption and to, evolve. So you have to kind of work with them once they're here. But the idea, as these technologies come in, if they're causing a lot of problems, is first to try and improve the problem, and try to iterate. So like cell phones, for example, when they were first invented, they're going off in movie theaters, disrupting people. They're loud when people hear the ring. So we invent the buzzer, a silent buzzer, to improve this problem, technology. That's part of iterating through technology's evolution. But another part of it is sometimes just relocating it and finding a better use for that technology, a better use for it. So a better home, let's say. So a nuclear bomb, for example, that's used as a nuclear weapon in war, and all the destruction and suffering that causes is not a great expression of nuclear bomb technology. But you could imagine maybe a meteor that's approaching the Earth, and if we send a nuke out into space and we're able to detonate it at the right angle to deflect the meteor, you could save the Earth from getting sent back to the Stone Ages from a meteor. So that's an example, a very progressive view of how we can use a nuclear bomb, and rather using it as a nuclear weapon, we can use a nuclear bomb. Maybe it'll come in handy one day to save the Earth from a meteor or something like that. But that's sort of the approach. We acknowledge these technologies thinking machine technologies are causing problems, but we can work with thinking machine technology as a whole to further social progress, make better leaders, and improve our culture. So that's why I love Valia. I love her story. But it all takes shape in that first act of her killing Theodota. And this brings me to sort of the whole theme of the show, which I want to touch on as I've been learning about fiction and what makes good fiction. One of the things is there has to be a theme, a consistent theme throughout the story. It has to be about something. And the theme here throughout the show is control versus surrender. So what we see is Valia, from her teenage years all the way through joining the sisterhood and up into becoming Mother Superior, she's all control. She's all, I'm going to exert my will and my influence to get things how I want them to be. Her sister, Tula, is much more accepting of the things that come in, and she's much more able to surrender and to accept things that come in, deal with them, and then just kind of let them go, let them pass. Whereas Valia is always manipulating, trying to manipulate the outer environment, and when you are constantly trying to, if something comes in that's you don't like or is painful or is uncomfortable, and you try and repress it or deny it or manipulate to avoid it or something, it just gets stored inside. And this show touches a lot on ancestral trauma that Valia inherits from her family, and them basically being completely dishonored throughout the entire period for abandoning their duties in wartime, and they get banished to this desolate planet. And so we see Valia as a teenager on this planet, very frustrated and wanting to change her circumstances. So she has this great power of will, and she wants to control things, and I'm going to make things how I want them to be. But another thing, along with just having a theme that makes a great work of fiction, is following the hero's journey. And we really get a great hero's journey from Valia here, where part of the hero's journey is growing as the hero. So there's the hero's journey is basically a formula, a template that really works for a really good story, and it works well with the human psyche. There's something timeless about it where it really registers with us as believable and really engaging. The hero story, it's sort of initially developed by Joseph Campbell, I think, who lays out a 12-step process where the hero starts off in the known world, and then they move out into the unknown world after getting a call to adventure, and then they go into this unknown. They accept the call. They go into the world, and they meet new allies, new challenges. They have the villain. After the inciting incident, the villain comes into play. They go through their ordeal. They then, defeat the villain, and then they return from the unknown world back to their home, back to the known world, having grown, having changed. So what I love about this is we get a really great change in Valia from this girl who wants to control everything, to being able to let go of some of these, what we might call in yoga, samskaras that she has developed, either inherited from her ancestral trauma or just from losing her brother, for example. That was sort of the biggest one, where she just has this guilt over her causing her brother's death, and she's been carrying that, and she's been kind of repressing it and manipulating the outer environment. And when you just manipulate things and try and control to avoid it or repress it, it just gets worse and worse. And then she kills Theodota, and she's just more manipulative, and it just grows and grows. She just becomes this greedy, power hungry my dad's walking by here, so I'm just saying hi. Yep. And she just becomes this greedy, manipulative, gifted, but greedy, manipulative, powerful person who is very scared. And and one of the other parts that makes a great movie is having the all is lost moment, and the hero at the mercy of the villain moment. And that's where we really get the transformation of Valia, is in the hero at the mercy of the villain, when she confronts the villain, Desmond, and he basically, Desmond, who has this power to burn people from his mind, and he's used it to kill first one of the sisters, Kasha, and then one of the royal house's sons, who was being arranged for a marriage for the throne. He kills him, and he just becomes, this villain who he's using his power to serve the Imperium and just kill people. But in this transformation for Valia happens when she confronts him, and she's there with her sister Tula, and she is experiencing the fear that happens when he's burning her. She has all this fear inside, and Tula is kind of working with her, who's very good at letting things go, experiencing painful events as they happen to the depth of her being, accepting them, letting them go, moving on with her business. She coaches Valia through this here when the pain is coming up, because when we store things inside and they come back up, they're just as painful when they come up. And Tula says, hey, you have to just let it happen. You have to just let it go. And all the pain that she felt from her life of losing her brother, and the guilt she felt there, and all the trauma, and it's painful. She experiences it momentarily, but it passes, and it goes through her, and she comes out, and you just see it in her eyes. She says, I'm not afraid anymore. And it's such a great transformation for our hero, to surrender, and for the first time let those burdens pass through her, and let the Shakti flow, as we say in yoga. And that's why I love the story about Valia, because it really works with the hero's journey there, where she then returns to the known world having transformed. She's not afraid anymore. She let everything pass, let most of it probably pass through. She's just liberated now, and she's present in the moment. So it makes for a really, really great story. Definitely check it out. And I think I'm also going to post some snippets from some of the chapters I've been reading from Stephen Pressfield's book about how to write great fiction that I think apply here, and then which different parts of the movie or the show apply. Like the part of the hero's journey is the refusal of the call. So at first the hero, when she gets called, there's always an initial refusal, and then there's a mentor who comes in That's the next part of the hero's journey, is the meeting of the mentor, and the mentor is there to guide them and get them to accept their journey. And we get both of those, so I'll kind of link to different parts of the all is lost moment, for example. All is lost moment is the point in the story where the hero, we just think they have no chance. Things are dire. And that's part of what makes a great story, is the more dire the all is lost moment, the better the payoff in the end. I would say the all is lost moment here for the show is when Isla dies. The girl who they send back to connect with her ancestors, and she dies, and then they get the reckoning. They're all scribbling, subconsciously what they're seeing, and they realize, okay, Isla's dead, the reckoning's coming, we don't have any hope. All is lost. What's our plan? Our best plan is to get the Harkonnen Baron to accuse the Emperor of, that's their whole plan. I mean, things aren't looking good for them. So they have the show has a really good all is lost moment. And then, of course, a really good hero at the mercy of the villain moment, which is the transformational moment there that I just talked about. So great show. A lot of good themes about learning to let go and having a balance between controlling what you want and accepting reality as it comes in. Tula, for example, is very good at accepting the painful experiences and sacrifices that she has to kill the man she loves here. She makes love to him, and then the next day has to end his life that she loves. She has to let go of her child, and she has to let go of her also kind of child, Isla, and that she raised her, and submit her to the agony and the risk of so all these painful experiences that Tula has to go through. Like I said, she's very good at kind of feeling the pain when it happens, and not storing it, not trying to manipulate or control or deny it or repress it. She just lets it happen, feels the pain to the depth of her being, lets it go, moves on with her business. And her bringing that to help our hero in the climax moment, and makes for a very, very satisfying story. So highly recommend. Go check out Dune Prophecy, especially if you've seen the movies and you like them. Hasta la vista.